Hey everybody, Dan God of Thunder here. We've got one last patch for Season 6 Smite, adding a new god to the game, so let's get right into it. So this is really my first big look at the new character, Heimdallr. I actually had envisioned trying to make a character like this, kind of a swordsman, little tier-like visually, but as a assassin who focused on team buffing, things like that. So it's kind of interesting to see how Hi-Rez took the character. His passive is that anytime he gets vision, he can see them for up to 4 seconds, and he gets up to 15% physical power, but his crits only do 70% damage. That's mostly because of his basic attack chain. His basic attack chain, he has a little bit of a golden bow effect, which is actually kind of nuts when you think about it. But it's 1.3, 1.3, 1.5, so he basically has to wind up longer. So he's actually very slow. So I think this will be a character who is not as good at low ranks, especially as we get into it. But I think until you see a lot of tuning, he's going to be everywhere at the very high end. He's going to be I think he'll probably start Season 7 as a top pick ban. But he'll be a little bit like set. And that's kind of what you've noticed. They're moving towards these more complicated gods with very high ceilings. And I think Heimdallr is a lot of that. His first ability, Piercing Sight, which is also his AoE clear, throws it into the air, and enemies with 120 feet. So if you look at your range on your ruler, if you have the ruler set up, that ends at 70. And most abilities don't go up to 100. 85 is the most common. This is like hitting someone, I think, longer than Kukulkan's Khan's ultimate, which I think is 100. And it does pretty good damage. It's actually quite a bit. The big question is going to be how slow and awkward that is. I haven't really seen his abilities. Yallarhorn, enemies are slowed and attack more slowly, and they take some damage. He gains some protections, and he can knock enemies back. This is really, it looks like his main mid-fight defensive utility. I think it's going to be hard for him to use this on first glance. This caps at 160. So this is 3? No, actually, this is going to be a lot of power. This will actually scale up to This will actually scale up to 200% physical power. So he's really going to be a hunter that likes these high physical power and penetration items. Which is actually, this will be interesting. I don't know how hard this will be to utilize. Hopefully not too bad. Pretty good. The Bifrost. This is kind of one of the two things everyone's talking about. He basically he drops a point and then he drops a second point and they automatically link to each other. And he is able to go from one to the other freely. Alternatively, whenever he uses it, so it appears that you can't destroy the Bifrost ports and the cooldown will scale, which is actually really interesting. So if you use it at rank 1, it's like a very long teleport, along fixed points rather than across things. So it takes some time to set up, which means he'll lose farm and he'll lose waves while he's setting it up. But there was one person who put 1 point by the enemy purple, 1 point by the enemy blue. So you pretty much had bees on him at all times, because anytime that Heimdallr sees someone crossing that lane line he drops, he gets vision on him, which also helps with his passive. So that's actually really good. It looks like it's going to be hard to use out of combat. So in combat, but out of combat, this is going to be very handy. So this is a god that, like I said, very hard to use properly, but he's going to be really good at high level and in competitive play. His ultimate, Through the Realm, charge forward, hits a god, stuns him, launches him to the sky, portal appears. I don't know what it means by random location, and I'd be curious to see what they mean by that. If it's just like in a small AoE. But that kind of hurts his team. I think it'd be better if it was in a predictable location. and it also just does a whole boatload of damage, which is interesting. It seems like it's just like takes them out of combat, and if he can't kill him on his own, his teammates will. I think it's gonna definitely break Spectator. It's not gonna look pretty, but it's an okay ultimate. I think it does a lot. It does a lot thematically, but it's really just an out of combat banish with damage. Let's see. I'll have to do another video really quickly on the. Let's see. That's 400, 400, 400. Holy shit! That's a lot of skins. That is 12. Yeah, that's 12 skins, along with the Heimdallr Master, which does not count. That's a lot. It's like 5,000 gems worth of skins. Let's see. Balances. Bold Demons. This was always an issue, and they allegedly finally fixed it. We'll see. Cursed Ankh used to actually damage you if you healed up mana. Like if you had the blue buff, the 20% damage increase used to proc on that. Now it doesn't. Thank you. Let's see. Nothing else is really a big deal. Who gives a shit about that? Zhang Kui. Okay, that was something that one of my friends had a question about. Vigilant Update will actually relaunch that. This is actually a big deal. Full console mouse and keyboard support. Excuse me. And they're now going to do matchmaking based on control scheme, not platform. I don't like that. And the biggest reason I don't like that is because it makes it so if you're using controller, you're fucked. They really should just get it over with and combine everybody for everything. Smite, especially ranked, doesn't have that many players. And now controller is casual only. So if you're playing the game seriously, you essentially have to get keyboard mouse. I don't know what that means for Xbox and PS4 users. Can you just use like a standard keyboard and mouse setup? Do you have to buy specific ones? I don't know the answers to those. I don't have that. So just so you know, you can now use that, and you might have to convert if you want to play the game ranked or seriously. You'll see a lot of the top players moving to keyboard mouse console. Okay, so item balance. The only item, they're taking Jade Emperor's Crown from 30 to 20. This is probably a good change. Physical power matters quite a bit, so I don't have an issue with that. They also think it really facilitated Jormungandr, which it kind of did. Not the way I played it, but I get what they're saying. Camazotz is getting some love. He was really only a solo lane niche, unless you're Belair. Essence Drinker is going to get a 2% increase. This is passive, I believe. Vampirism, extra lifesteal, and Devour is going to be a longer jump. That's actually, all of those are good. I think the big one's going to be the Devour being more versatile, so you can engage from longer, you can retreat further away, all that. I think that is a good change. These two here, they're good. The problem is he just doesn't have anything other than damage in his kit. And so you have to bring the CC from elsewhere, like a Kabrakan Jungle if you're playing him solo. Still kind of a weird pick. Never a character I've been any good with, but maybe that will matter. Hopefully it does. Jormungandr, his passive is getting a debuff. So he takes 15% now for 2 seconds when he is dazed rather than 10%. That can actually be a big deal. 15% damage is a lot. And there are certain gods, like for instance Geb comes to mind, that I think will actually start to creep up towards the status of hard counter for Jormungandr. Try looking into Geb if you wind up with a Jormungandr solo, because you're always going to be knocking him up with your shockwave. That's actually going to be relatively surprising. You might like the results. Kukul Khan is actually going to get a little bit of a debuff, a nerf, with regards to his whirlwind. It was applying quite frequently and for a lot, so that's getting toned down a bit. Probably a good change. Kind of wish they gave him a little... I don't know. I think they should have kept the damage and left that alone, but whatever. Oleron is getting 2 less physical power. No one cares. Set is getting a 1 second increase cooldown on his skewer, going from 7 to 8. That's actually pretty big. He wasn't played at Worlds. He is kind of a pub stompy character that can really snowball. We'll see. I don't know if this is going to be a big deal. He wasn't getting played at Worlds. I don't know the answer to that. I know he was active and usable in Worlds. They just didn't use him. So that's very interesting. I don't think this is a bad thing. Set does not do well at low levels of play. He does very well at high levels. And so I think this 1 second cooldown won't change him at the low level while still being impactful enough at high end. Yamoja is getting a lot of love. Who cares about the general? But instead of getting Omi at 456, she is going to get 2 points of Omi just for getting to level 4 and level 12. And the third point is from obtaining 300 mana or MP5. I don't like this so much. I think it should have been 200, 400, 600, with MP5 counting for like 5 times what it does, or at least like 3 or 4 or 5 times 1 point of mana. So if you had like 10 MP5, it counts for like 30 mana at minimum. I think that's what they should have done. And what they should have done is increase her Omi regeneration, because I think that's her biggest problem. Yamoja has a very strong opening salvo. So she's like a battleship with big guns. It's all like 16-inch guns, and she's got 3 turrets of them to bear. But they take an eternity to reload. And she doesn't really get to... She gets to drop her entire kit and then do nothing, because she has to wait for her Omi to recharge. So I think having her Omi regeneration scale up more would have been beneficial. So it gives her shit to do in the mid-fight. After she's already dropped her 1, 2, 3, and she can do other stuff then. I think that's where they should have done it. Both forms of it are going to be easier to hit, which is fine. I don't love that, but it's okay. And Mending Waters, which is her 2, does more for her healing. So that's the new patch. Excuse me. The big thing is going to be, I would say, the changes to Jormungandr, the addition of keyboard, mouse, console players, and also the biggest one of all is going to be the addition of Heimdallr. We'll see where this goes. I think Heimdallr is going to be very good. I think he's going to be very strong, but you're not going to see him in your lower ranked games because he doesn't get the shot frequency to make up for misses that you need at lower ranks. A lot of his kit is going to be very hard to utilize because you need your teammates providing wards. You need to be smart with your vision and your ward placement, which I don't think he's always going to have. So we'll see. I think that's where we're going to end up, and I'm very curious as to how they balance this guy to make him usable at low ranks but not run the table at higher levels of play. If you like this video, please subscribe, upvote, like, whatever. I am trying to get to 1,000 subscribers. What 1,000 subscribers would let me do is that the YouTube advertisements that you see, I would be able to start profiting off of those as well. I'm sure you like me better than you like YouTube. So yeah, that would be very helpful and appreciated if you did hit that subscribe button. Take care. Follow me on the links below as well in the compiled link. I'll catch you all next time.